that will be made. In this video I will not be doing the styling of it. I will provide links for it, and in the final version it will have all of those features. So what we will do, we will basically do the functionalities. So you can add a new item, you can select an item, and we can also delete those items. So that's what we will learn, and I will explain throughout the video each step and my process of thinking. So thank you for watching. I have already installed React.js and I have made the project folder. So I have called my project front end, and this is the files that are in the project, and this is the result of those files. So we can open the inject.js and the app.js and we can see. So let's try to modify something here. So let's modify this one to this. So we save and show the data. So you can see it has updated. So what we need to do here, there are many useless files in this project that we won't be using, so we need to delete them. So let's delete this one, this, we delete the import from this, and we need to delete the tests. So we save app.js and so we need to rewrite that too. So how are we gonna do that? So we will be using React hooks. So we will remove this and write down what we need. So let's go. Const app, we will write has arrow functions, and so we need to export that function that we created. So app, and we save and it should work. So let's test to see if it works. Hello, it's working. Yeah, so as we can see, it is working. So what this means, well, we are making a JSX file and we are taking advantage of React functionality. So we must return HTML, and that's what we are doing here. So function app will return a div that contains this content here. So we can write down also JS code here. So how we can do that? We can write down between curly brackets. So let's say have variable call. So let's name it title TodoList. Let's say we have a variable, name it like that. So we say title, and here it is showing. So that's how we do it. So what we need to do here, what an word or app must have, it must have a title, it must have a way to add a new item, and we must show a list of the items that are already added to the project. So how we do that? Let's create a basic setup here. So what we are going to do here is let's create another div. And we are going to set as this class title, and we're gonna name it TodoList. Save it so we have something there, and here what you're gonna do is make another div, and name this one add item, and here we're gonna make another one called list item. So we have three parts. So we have the first part, which is the title, we have the add item, and we have the list item where we will list the items. So first we need to add the input type that we want to create. For the input will be type has text, and so has text, and you can save it and you can see that it will show. So here the input it is here. So we also want to create a button that we can click so we can add that new item. So we add here and we name has add. We save it and you can see it is showing. So what we need to do now, so we need to utilize new React functions. We need to use states. So what are states? States are variables that we can change in React, and React will update all the components that utilize that state. So let's say we have a variable that we need to change dynamic, and we need to re-render every time it is updated. So we use a new state. But if we want to, if we want to show data that it is static, we can use the props property. So the props are the properties that are passed to the component. Since in React.js everything is a component, so we can pass props to every component that we create. So let's import the function from React. So use state, and let's create the state that we want to name. So the state that will be called is text. So set text use state. So why there are two variables here? Well, the first variable here is the variable that we want to hold the information, and this variable is a reference to a function. So this function will be able to change the contents of the text. So we are separating who is the holder of the information and who can change the information. So it is similar to a getter and a setter. So now what we need to say? We need to say the text is the value of the input. So here, since we are using JSX, we need to pass the value of the text has a JS. So we use curly brackets here. So and I believe we don't need this, just this. Yes. So what we want to do too. So we want to update the value of the text every time we write down something. So so we need to update the value of the text. A. So for every way that we added, for every change that we make, we need to update the value of the state. So we have the last state. So how we can do that? We can make a listener to the onChange callback, and we can call our own function. So we say onChange, we'll call onChange. So we need to make the onChange function. So we make it as an error function, and we don't need to return something here. So how we can assess the value that it is inside this input? So we need, so since JS has, since every object in JS has an event value, so we will take that value and assess the value of that event. So here we pass the value has an argument, the event has an argument, and we can access that. So we're gonna set the text has the event target value. So we have the current event and the target, which is the input, and the value, that is the value inside the input. So we are just basically setting every time we change the input, we change also the state. So how we can check if it is working? Well, we can print the current state of the text. So let's say text, let's name it text here. So we go we open the console and we write down something here. So let's see, define here. So it is working, it is updating. So this is good. But what we need to do is set the state has a value. So it must have an initial value. So the text has an initial value of none, so it is empty, and we set that empty value has the value of the input, so it is empty here. We set a function that will call when anything changes, and if anything changes, we update the state. So now we need to make a way to represent the item. So as I said before, React, everything should be, or at least try to be, a component. So you can reuse that component many times in other parts of the code. So we're gonna make a folder called components. So components, let's name the item that the component that we want to create. So I will name the item has to-do item, and the name of the file inside the folder will be index.js, because when we import this component, it will look up inside the folder for the index.js file. So it will import automatically for us if you have it named like that. So now we need here. So now we are in the index.js, so we need to make the to-do item component. So we need to import React.js and import React. Here we do the same. So let's name this to-do item arrow function. Here it must return something. Here it must return something, and we export this function as default for the component. So here what we need to do. So an item must know which state it is in. So we need to check the item itself, and we need to show the text of the item that we have. So we need to represent that. How we can do that? We will use the same logic that we use in the app. So we will use the use state. Use state. It's important for some reason. It is because it deleted this. So yeah. Wow. So and we will make the state. Which state will be this one? So the state will be that is checked, and we can change the state. Use state. It's very important, so now I can use state. Yeah. Now it's working. So the default state will be false. So what we need to do too. So a component can have, as I said before, properties. So we call props, and in this component we will be passing props down to this component. So we need to pass as arguments for to receive it. So props, and so let's say if we pass an ID down to this property, how we can access that? We'll do this ID. So we should have the ID if it is passed to us. So what we need to do here, we need a way to check if the property check was passed, and if it was, we need to update our local state. Remember, properties, props in case, cannot be changed, they are immutable. Only states can be changed, and it will update our view, so we will take advantage of that. So we need a way to check if the property props.check was updated from the parent. So we can do this by using this function, use react, use effect. So how we can use that? So we call the function, we pass an arrow function to it, so because the first argument receives a function, and here it is which variable it must be hooked into. So the variable that we want to check for is props check. So every time props check is changed, updated or whatever, we will call everything that is inside here. We'll call this function. So what we need to do here, all we need to do is check the state. Check now, update the state. So when we click, we want the user to update the state, checked to not checked. So that's what this interrogation does. So the negation of true is false, and the negation of false is true. So that's what this does basically. So here what we need to do here, we need a way to show the to-do list. So how are we gonna do that? So we're gonna make it as an input here, and the type is checkbox, and same thing here, we need to check if the state of the input has changed. So it can change to only to two states, true or false. So you'll need to check for that. So we call the onChange value, and we need to say that the current value, which is the checked value, is equal to the checked state. So we need to create the local onChange function, make it has an arrow function, and here what we need to do, so if here was clicked, we need to update the current local value. So we need to put the current local value. So here is where we do this. So here is the correct logic. So when it is clicked, we need to reverse. So here we don't need to reverse it as was mistaken. So here all we need to do is set the current state as the current prop that was passed with. So just a little mistake that I made. So if the props has been changed, we repeat the state of the local object. So, and if the object was clicked to change, we reverse the state. So in case it is false, it make it true, and in case it is true, make it false. So now we also need a way to show the text that will be passed down to this prop, to this component. So we assess the props text, and we also want a way to delete the the button. Oops, not the button, but we also want a way to delete the the item. So we need a way to click on the item. So we are going to call a button, and we're gonna call that name. So we're gonna call X. So exit. So we need to know when the user clicked on this button. So we call the onClick, and we pass down a function that we will create, and here. So here what we need to do. We don't need to know what the event is. So we only need to call the parent function that was passed to us. Why? Because the children cannot change the variables from the parent. So since this is a delete function, the children cannot delete function from higher order. So we do this because this is a way to keep track of things. It will make things simple for us in larger projects. So what we need to do is we need to check if the function was passed to the children. So let's name the function props onDelete. So if onDelete was passed to this, we call it so props onDelete. And what we need to do is pass the ID. So props ID. So we are saying that we need to pass a function that is called onDelete, and we also need to pass the ID. So now this should be working. Everything should be working in the to-do item. So we need to make an item to show in the app. So let's go to app. Let's import the item the component that we created. So to do item and from. So we assess the current page components, the folder that we want, and to do item. So we can pass the folder, or we can do this. We would have to do this if we named it with any other name. So now that we made it like this, we don't need to pass it. So it should work. So save. So now here, let's make it to do item. So what we are doing here, we are creating an instance of the item. See, it is showing, but since we didn't pass any text to it, it won't show. So let's pass this text. So it's showing. So we can also change the state, check for, let's say, true. Yes, so it is updating. So so we need to also pass the ID for it. So how we can represent many items and save that effectively. So we need a way to represent that. We will represent that with an array. So let's create it. So let's name it items, set items equals use state, and let's say the array is empty, has no items yet. So what we need to do here, we need a way to add a new item, and how we will do that. So let's create a function on add. So this function, we will add a new item, and what we need to create a new item? Well, we need the values, we need the previous values, and we need to add the new item in the end of the list. How we do that? Well, we basically use this, so three dots items. So what we are saying here is basically copy this to here, make a copy of the items to here, and let's add a new item towards the end of this list. Well, why we are doing this? Well, remember, as I said, the object here, the state object is not changeable. The reference to is not changeable. So we need to pass a new object, so it will update the state. You can read more on the documentation for React.js, but I won't get into much details with that. So now we need to make a way to differentiate each item and how we can represent each item. So how are we gonna solve this problem? Well, we're gonna create an object. That object must have two properties. The text property. So the text property will be the text that we get from the input. And we need to have the checked property. And the checked property will be false as default. If we create new item, checked property must be false by default on add. So we need to call that function when we want to add a new item. So here, so we need to add here. So when the user clicks the on add button, we call the on add function. So we need some sort of restriction. We want only to add a new to do if the text is a minimum 2 characters. So we get the text, we get the length of the text, and we say it must be bigger than 2. Otherwise, do nothing. Let's do nothing. So we otherwise do nothing. So we also need to make the onDelete function on delete. So because we need to pass the onDelete function to the children, so the to-do item can know which item must be deleted. So we get the ID for the children, and we'll call this the parent function, which is this one, and we need a way to delete this value. So how we can do that? So we will make a copy of the items, and we will say that the current, so we will say that the copy is equal to the copy but it's plus, and basically the ID plus 1. So the splice function basically deletes a value from the starting ID and plus the number of items that we want to delete from that point onwards. So let's say I want to delete the ID 0, so index 0, and I want to delete one item, so I pass 1, and that will do the job for us. So that's what it will do. I don't think it returns, so I don't think I need this. I think it is just this. So now I just set the new modifier array has the new array. So we go to the to item and we say the onlyList function that the item must call is this onlyList function that we created. So now what we need to do is we need to have a way to represent no, I'm wrong. So we need a way to show the items that have added so far, because here I have just made an item, so we need to show the items that are saved here in items that we added. So what we need to do is just this. So we make curly brackets, we call the map function. So basically what the map function does is iterate through each item, and we can make a new list for us, or we can return the same item. So if we want to return the same item, so we pass the parameters that we want to receive, so the item itself that we are going through, and the index that is currently in. And if you want to generate the same thing, you can just do this, and it should be basically the same, just a new copy of the item that we went through. But since we need to pass an HTML code, because here we are doing JS inside JSX, so we need to pass HTML code. So here we will return an array of TodoList items. So todo item, and here we will pass the property key, because our todo item must be unique, so we can differentiate which one is which. And we will pass the ID, so the ID of the item that we want to have, which is basically the same of the key, but the key is a property that React requires to pass if we have the same item multiple times. So we also need to pass the text, so we access the item text property, and we also want to pass the checked property from the item, so item.checked, and here we close the tag. So now I delete this and should be working. So interesting. So let me see what went wrong. So what went wrong? Oh, it's because I'm setting the text here instead of the items. My mistake. So should work now. Here, 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 here. So we can, here, as you can see, we're not deleting the function. Which is a shame. So let's see if this fixes it. I believe it does. So here, here, here. There's something wrong here. Splice. So let's see what it does. So, oh, it's because I didn't pass the onDelete function here. So here, pass the onDelete function, and now it should go. So So just just this. So yeah. So now the app is working. Yeah. So we can check here, here, here. So we have all the functionalities that we wanted in our application. So that's all for today, and I will be providing more styling for this application, but the coding part is essentially this. So we can centralize these, make it better looking, but the functionality is basically this. And you could add yourself and have fun with it, modify how you would like, and see how it goes. So thank you for watching, and see you soon.